Easy now. Papa got things making headlines.
Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they ain't finished change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael-Shawn You can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My at name has not changed, thankfully, at Mike Dugar, Mikedugar. Appreciate all love and support on there. Also, shout out to everyone who subscribes to our YouTube channel, Seahawks Man, the number 2 man on YouTube. We cannot overstate the appreciation we have for everyone who clicks that subscribe button on there. Thank you. Chris, talk to him.
What is good, everybody? It's your boy Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKid206. And to echo Mike's words, yes, we appreciate all the love and support, subscribing on YouTube. And I know you're listening right now and you're thinking, I haven't subscribed yet. Go ahead and do it. It takes 2 seconds. Go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Welcome to the family on YouTube as well. So we appreciate all the love and support.
We're coming to you guys Sunday night. This is after the Seahawks beat the Panthers 37-27 to improve to 2-1 on the year. Great environment. Obviously, I was there, but yeah, great environment, great game, at least in the second half. First half was very 1980-ish. But Seahawks got it done on the day that the franchise was honoring the 2013 team. It's been 10 years since that team played together. Obviously, that's the team that went on to win Super Bowl 48. The team all week was releasing a 10-part documentary on its YouTube channel. I think, they released it in parts, multiple parts each day until like Friday or Saturday or something like that. Had the team around the building this week. Big Red spoke to the team during the walkthrough on Saturday. A lot of those guys are already, around Cliff, Doug, KJ, obviously Bobby. But then they had some other guys come back, Golden, John Ryan. I don't need to name everybody. But yeah, it had guys come back. They honored different parts of the team during the game. I don't know if they showed that on TV, but like during like a TV timeout, I think in the first quarter, the second quarter, all of the receivers got honored. For example, had Sidney, had Doug. I couldn't see all who was there. Jermaine. So that was cool. Like it was very. They wore the uniforms from the 2013 championship game in the Super Bowl. If you were wondering why the Seahawks had on white jerseys at home, that is why, because it's the jerseys they won at MetLife in Super Bowl 48. So yeah, a lot of 2013 vibes, which is always the case in Seattle because, like I said, those guys are always around. Sherm's around, KJ's around, Cliff's around. All of those guys, for the most part. I mean, Cam's here. I don't know how much he's around, but he's here. Luke Wilson used to, be around a little bit. Deshaun Shedd's on the coaching staff. So, and obviously Pete. So they're the nucleus, or at least the architects of it, are here, and Pete and John, and then a lot of those key players are around. Obviously minus like Russ, Earl Thomas, among like the big guys. Marshawn comes around. So.
Hell,
It's
Bobby's
always
still playing.
Yeah, and then obviously Bobby is on the team still, which is kind of crazy to see. Like, wow, like all these guys are like found their second careers, whether it's Cliff in real estate, Mike B, Marshawn being just like this marketing machine, and Doug with his foundation and his community center and everything he's doing. Like everybody's got their second career already, and Bobby's like, no, I'm still like a really, really good linebacker. It's actually pretty impressive, but. The reason I bring up those guys is because, Chris, you could feel the 2013 vibes in the way if they won the game. I don't necessarily think that like projects going forward too much, but it was just one of those fitting things. Every once in a while, there's like just everything just makes sense. Maybe not even for a Seahawks game, but like sometimes when someone in someone's family dies and they play on like prime time and they have a big game. I remember like Brett Favre having a big game. I think his father had died. You get stuff like that, or last year there was like the immaculate reception game between the Steelers and the Raiders, and like the Steelers won, and like late dramatic fashion. You just kind of have those things that kind of add up. Perfect storybook type situation. There's for whatever reason, someone's getting honored, someone just passed, whatever it is. I think last week someone on the Bucks, I think, got a pick right before their son was born or something like that. So you get those moments. This was one of those in the Seahawks' favor. They won the game, running the ball, defending the run at a very high level. The crowd was crazy. What did they have? 8 false starts. The Panthers had 3 in a span of 4 plays. In the fourth quarter, special teams was a big contributor with Jason Myers going 5 for 5. Third down struggles on offense, which was sadly a throwback to those Legion of Boom era teams as well. So like the vibes are just there between special teams, the crowd, the run game, and at least the run defense. It felt just super Seahawky it felt like a true tribute. That's on top of Zach Charbonnet smoking that DB into the shadow realm, and Jarran Reed doing Michael B's little hump, little thrust there. Cam Chancellor getting some love from Jay Reed and Tyler Lockett as well with his like bam bam gavel celebration. Very, very 2013 Seahawky vibes. And then guys spoke to that after the game. I'm sure you guys saw it in some of the press conferences too, but like some guys talked to me about it as well. Like, for someone like Quandre, he said, I've been a secret Seahawks fan before I was even a Seahawk. Because he says for him, there's 2 safeties that really like is them dudes, the Quandre. Ed Reed and Earl Thomas. And remember, Quandre went to Texas as well. So he's been an Earl Thomas guy forever, like since high school. And Quandre is from Austin. He's from Texas. So like he's one of those guys who wants to uphold the standard. Tyler Lockett, when he comes out of the tunnel, I don't know, they probably don't show it on TV, but when Tyler comes out of the tunnel when the offense is announced, he does the Sherm celebration. He like holds his arms out and spins, and then he does the Cam thing as well. So he's always honoring that team. Jay Reed played with those guys, so he's always being like, "This is the standard. This is the standard. This is the standard." Same thing with Bobby. Again, Shed being on the coaching staff. So I like what Jarran Reed said after the game. When I talked to him, I was like, obviously winning is great, but what did it feel like to win in that way? And he was like, that's what we needed. We needed to get back to Seahawk football, and we did. Thus the quote on the screen there. So, yeah, I thought it was one of those spooky's not the word, or ironic. I can't think of the adjective to describe it, Chris, but today was definitely one of those like, oh, if we think about it, the other team really didn't have a shot, because once the Super Bowl champs got honored at halftime, you just knew the Seahawks were just going to come out honoring those guys, and they did in the second half. Basically outscored them 25-7 before that garbage time joint at the end when the Seahawks didn't have all their starters on the field. So, yeah, it was a little spooky, and it also kind of dope at the same time to see the 2013 team there, and then the Seahawks have a very 2013-ish type win on Sunday.
Yeah, the storybook fairy tale, how you want to look at it, it came true. They obviously tale of 2 halves, but that's the cool thing about football. You can make adjustments and come out and figure out exactly what you want to do offensively, defensively, and for the most part, that's kind of what you alluded to and what the Seahawks did, and especially with the halftime, guys coming out from the 2013 Super Bowl championship, the team that won it, coming out on the field and just having the opportunities to celebrate them and the players recognizing the opportunity ahead of them. And they took advantage of it for the most part, and they were able to, as you mentioned, put on a better performance in the second half. Obviously, there's a lot to get to, and we can do that with Twitter questions. But for the most part, they took it upon themselves to say, you know what, we got the 2013 Super Bowl champs in the building. We got to put on a show. We have to do things the right way. We have to make plays. We have to get after the quarterback. The run game, ineffective. The Panthers could not move the ball on the ground. You know what they could do? They could throw it. Obviously, they have to figure out how to be just better. And it starts with the pass rush. Hell, they blitz Andy Dalton, I felt, every third down. Third down, we're blitzing. It doesn't matter. We're blitzing. And for the most part, they converted. They were pretty successful, but on a couple of plays there, the Seahawks made some stops, which was great. But to your point, Mike, yeah, back to Seahawks football. Let's see how they take what they did Sunday against the Panthers and how they do against the Giants. Another team that's struggling. They haven't won a football game yet. So this is a team that you can come out, back to Seahawks football, stop the
No,
run.
the Giants won a game. They won a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat the Cardinals.
That's right. In that crazy game when the
Yeah,
Cardinals
they
were
were
up
down
20,
like 20 or something. Yeah,
21-0.
They,
That's
they
right.
won. Yeah, they're 1-2.
Well, you know what? Screw it. It doesn't matter. The Seahawks, as you see on the headline on YouTube, back to Seahawks football. Okay, go out and dominate this Giants team that isn't all that right now. Who knows if Saquon's going to play with that bum ankle? Daniel Jones hasn't proven to be worth all that amount of money they paid him. Go out there and put on that performance and dominate. And it stems from their game Sunday against the Panthers, especially in that second half. And Jarran Reed, I mean, I know you talked to him, Mike. He looked really good. I'm excited to go back and watch the all 22 and see just how much of a disruptor he was, because it felt, watching the game live, it felt that he was just making play after play after play after play in the backfield, pressuring the quarterback. He was doing his thing on Sunday for sure, and that's kind of just what I saw watching the game. But obviously, going back and watching it later, you can see a whole bunch of different things as well. So shout out to them for definitely putting on a better performance in the second half for sure.
Yeah, I think last week we talked in our post-game show, I guess on our only show from last week, we talked about how veteran presence had a big role in the victory, with how Bobby kind of spoke to the guys during the week, and then Gino and some of the offensive guys were very poised in what was a roller coaster game against Detroit. This was a very similar situation, except that the veterans that had an impact were, the old guys, but also Jarran Reed.
Yeah.
That's back-to-back weeks. I think that the free agent signings had a very significant role in how the team, like the character of the team. I think Bobby was last week. I know it was Bobby last week. This week, Jay Reed had a big part in that, because Bobby is obviously what connects the two eras, like Legion of Boom and like post Legion of Boom, because he played them both. Jay Reed is very similar. Jay Reed got here in 2016, so he played with Cam, played with Earl, Sherm, KJ Bobby, Big Mike, or Mike B, Cliff, all those guys. Played with all those guys too. And then he left, but him coming back, he's still like, for a lot of these younger dudes, Jay Reed connects those eras as well, and he's a presence that guys listen to. He's one of those dudes where if he says, "Hey, get your stuff together," and uses more profanity than I'm comfortable using right now on the show, then guys tend to respond to that and make that extra play, bring that effort or whatever it is, bring that juice. He's kind of an extension of Clint Hurt in that way, because he was here when Clint was the D-line coach. He's seeing Clint kind of grow. Now Clint's the DC, but then now Clint calls the games from upstairs in the box, so he's not really down there to like feel the guys when they need that juice. Jay Reed can bring that. Other guys do too, but I think it's very important that Jay Reed is in that role. I think he's in if Tyler's in year 9, this must be year 8 for Jay Reed. So he's a veteran dude, and his presence matters and his voice matters. And then what's important with those guys who are vocal and are leaders, you can't stink, right? Like, no one listens to the guy on the bench. No one listens to the guy missing tackles. No one listens to the guy dropping passes, right? Like, you got to go out there and make plays on top of being vocal. And that's where also Jay Reed is important. I think Jay Reed accounted for 3 of their 11 quarterback hits. I think it was on Dalton today. He had, I think, a sack and a half. He split that first one with Jordan Brooks, the big 4th down one. Jay Reed also had some plays in the run game. His playing well and being vocal was the combination that at least the defensive side needed. Because also remember, it was Jay Reed this offseason who, at every turn, I heard Jay Reed in three different places guarantee that they wouldn't be the 30th ranked run defense this year. He did it in a radio interview. He did it during a preseason game. I want to say it was the Packers game. And then he did it again in a press conference with us, like right before week 1. So he was like, "Yo, we ain't going to be 30th. Guaranteed. Promised it." And then look what's going on. I'm pretty sure the Seahawks by yards per carry right now have the 3rd best run defense in the league. It's like 2.8 yards, 2.9. Just a crazy number through 3 weeks, which a lot of that has to do with, number 90 in the middle, playing nose, and then also rushing the passer on 3rd down. So like Chris mentioned, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the win as well. But I think that for the second straight week, It's a free agent signing. It's a veteran. It's like all of these things that, as much as getting younger and faster and cheaper is like the goal for damn near every team in the offseason, sometimes you pay for a veteran, whether you cash out for one or you get one for the low or you bring one back. Sometimes that stuff really matters during the week. Sometimes it's quantifiable, like we saw today, and sometimes it's not, and we don't learn about it until later in the offseason or something. But for these last 2 weeks, we can see the direct impact of like having certain veterans in the room, whether they're like all pro caliber or just like really solid players. Vets still matter, right? They do. So yeah, big shout out to Jay Reed's presence today, just like we showed some love to Bobby last week. And some of the guys spoke to it too. Jordan Brooks did as well. He's like, yo, he matters to everything we doing. And when he says something, we listen. Pete Carroll spoke about his impact on the younger guys as well. So yeah, back-to-back weeks, Chris. The vets matter. We've been reminding people for years, getting younger and cheaper and faster, particularly on defense. Ain't always the way to go, man. Sometimes you need that mix. You can't just have a bunch of young pups, and you can't have a bunch of dudes in wheelchairs out there either. You got to have that good mix of guys who ain't old enough to drink and guys with their AARP cards. Like that's the perfect blend for a championship caliber team. So yeah, shout out to the vets, man. Hashtag vets matter. That might be my new one I get going on top of never kick and ban screen passes and all that.
You mentioned a guy that I think deserves a little love too, and you said his name twice, and that's Jordan Brooks. He has had a really good three weeks to the start. He's had a really good start to the season. He's making the plays he needs to make. The mistakes that we saw him make before he got hurt last year on crossers, he's able to hang with those receivers. He's understanding his role. He had a couple of tackle for losses on Sunday against the Panthers where he just sniffed out a play and was there. He might have missed here and there, but he allowed other guys to funnel to the ball. He had a huge stop on I think it was a screen play late in the game.
It was a screen. Yep.
And he just smelled it and attacked it, made the play. Jordan Brooks, I know he's a young vet, quote unquote, but he definitely they got to stop taking him off the field on some of these third downs. I'm gonna keep it real.
They stopped doing that today. Today he played on third downs. They need to
continue to keep him out there because he is definitely, especially if they're not the. I feel that he is filling the role nicely if they're gonna stay in nickel with him, or even the base defense. That is, if they're gonna just have. Because it was Artie Burns today who was out there a lot of the times, and Artie Burns he was okay, but Jordan. He didn't miss a beat. In my head, I'm thinking, just stick with Jordan. He is doing just fine. He is making the plays. Obviously, he wasn't targeted much in the past. He wasn't dropping back, and I didn't see him. I don't think he had any pass defenses or anything, or pass breakups. But I just love his energy, especially coming off of the injury he had last season, where he didn't know when he was returning. Pete was very, he's on the same timeline as Jamal, and Jamal is now playing on Monday Night Football against the Giants coming up next week. So it's good to see Jordan back into the swing of things. And obviously in his presser, he was just happy to be back and happy for this opportunity to play the game again. And you're seeing it. He is definitely someone that the Seahawks missed last year late in the season, but he's back and he looks really, really good and much better. So shout out to Jordan for sure. Just want to plug that real quick before we get to Twitter questions.
Yeah, they did a good job adjusting the personnel today, having nickel. They were in nickel a lot, but then
they just said
they didn't. They were in nickel a lot, but then on third downs they stayed in nickel instead of going to dime.
Which is
part
smart.
of that is because they didn't have Kobe Bryant. That was part of it. But the other part, it was like clearly they were like, okay, this dime thing is not getting it done. We can afford to have JB out there. Yeah, and JB, he had a big game. So, and I think he just got a haircut too, looking clean cut. I didn't peep that until his post game. So yeah, that's a good. Thank you for bringing him up.
Well, you mentioned him. I was just thinking, like, dang, he really balled out. Every time you said his name, it was a play that he made, which is good to see. So shout out to Jordan Brooks. I'm sure the success will continue, especially being alongside Bobby Wagner, who knows the game and is going to put you in the right position to make plays. So with that being said, Mike, we got a bunch of Twitter questions after this Seahawks win. Let's not waste too much time. Let's get into it. I'll start from the one that you got DM'd to you that you sent me. Let's see. This is, you didn't say it was from, but it's all good.
Oh, I can say who it's from. 1 second.
Oh, go ahead.
My bad. I should have sent that. This is from Zach Anderson. Hey, it's my first time reading somebody's that name. Yeah, Zach Anderson. Zach Anderson 21 is who this question is from.
What's with the lack of pass rush? Any chance we see an increase in pressuring the quarterback as the year goes on without any major personnel shakeups?
Yeah, the pass. I don't have all the fancy pass rush numbers in front of me like I usually do. Let me see how many times they got. They got to Dalton quite a bit today. They had a lot of quarterback hits. I think it was double
Because they
digits.
blitzed the hell out of that man.
Yeah, I don't have the blitz numbers
I
in front of me.
guarantee you it's
either.
over 40%. It has to be. I felt
they were definitely bringing the heat for sure. But I think that I forget who I was talking about this with off the record. I can't remember if it was a player or coach. It's kind of bugging me now. But the issue that I found, at least one of them, is the one is just Russian coverage not working together. Where like, yeah, a guy's getting there, but then boom, the ball's out and someone's open. That's like problem number one. The other problem is that guys aren't just winning off rip. Like I think a really good example of a guy winning off rip. He didn't get the sack, but I'm sure you guys all remember Draymond Jones just ran somebody over last week against the Lions. I think it was like the left guard. Blows through him right off the snap, puts him on his butt, and it forces Jared Goff to move, and he throws incomplete. I forget what. I think it was in the second half at some point. You need more of guys winning just right away. Now, that's hard, obviously, but when you watch like the really good pass rush teams and the guys who are elite at it, it doesn't really take multiple moves to get there. You watch Myles Garrett, he's just lifting dudes. You watch Micah Parsons, he's blowing right by cats. You watch TJ Watt, and he's just plowing, he's long arming, defender, offensive linemen into quarterbacks. Nick Bosa, same thing. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, same thing. Like they're winning right away. Very quick wins. Next gen stats tracks like fastest sack or fastest time to the quarterback. I don't know where the Seahawks rank. Maybe that's something I should remind myself to go look up later in the week, like where the Seahawks rank in terms of how long it does take them to get to the quarterback on their sacks. But it doesn't seem like guys are winning fast enough. Like guys are winning, but it's like, all right, I'm going to try to speed rush, and then I'm going to convert speed to power, and then hopefully he's now on progression number 3, and then he comes down. It's not a ton of – like Jarran Reed sack today, I'm pretty – like the first one I think today – or the second one of the two was just a clear case of beating a guard. I think he just beat the guard and then boom, got to him. You need more of that where it's just like, all right, boom, rip his hands or spin or something quick. And it's not happening enough with the way the coverage is lining up. Because the coverage, like I said, that's problem number one. It's just all not working together. Quarterbacks don't have to hit a ton. Guys are open, and it's just not – the third down defense is not like super consistent. In that regard, even in the win over the Lions, it was like not great. So I think that's problem number one, rushing coverage not working together. Second part is guys aren't winning fast enough. You see it every once in a while. Like Darrell Taylor's had some wins. Like I think he still ranks pretty high on like pass rush win rate, for example, that ESPN stat, because he's winning, but then he'll get there and then boom, balls out. Or I'd say he was doing that a lot in the Stafford game in particular. But those reps for everyone else have been few and far between. That's obviously with me saying that without having watched the tape and without all the fancy numbers in front of me right now. But I do think that is like a general theme that I feel pretty confident about without watching the tape, is that guys aren't winning fast enough. And if you're not winning fast enough and your coverage is not there, then boom, ball gets out right away. And the sack numbers ain't super high.
This next one comes from Larry Collins. Jay Reed had 1.5 sacks and 5 QB hits over the last two games. Can the Seahawks expect to see this type of play from him for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think you can. He's one of those dudes. Like when he's getting to the quarterback, he is winning right away. Like he's really good interior pass rusher. Like he is bringing what fans were hoping that Jalen Carter would potentially bring. Is that can you play nose? Can you play 3 technique? And then on third down, can you rush over interior linemen and bring that, collapse the pocket from the interior? Like he's doing all of those things, like at a pretty good level. So yeah, I do think, like, I don't even think he played super bad in the first game. I think he played all right in the first game too. For the most part. I think the rushing situation up front was just awful. Like when I went back and watched that Rams game, guys were just running into each other. It was like guys have never run a game before, guys tripping over each other's feet. Jay Reed running into Darrell Taylor and Draymond Jones running into guys. It was like it just looked super out of whack for their first game. It looked like guys who hadn't played together for sure. But I think, yeah, Jay Reed is probably one of those guys who you can count on to just do, not to say he's going to have a sack every week, but this is a guy who's had a double-digit sack season before. Forget how many he had in 2018, but he's had one. So I think he's one of those guys you can be like, all right, he's our constant. He's going to be a really solid player. He's one of those guys who, if the other team doesn't have like an all-pro guard or all-pro center or something, you can count on him to get busy in this scheme. Yeah, in 2018, he had 10.5 sacks. Like that's, as a defensive tackle, that's pretty impressive. So, yeah, I would expect Jay Reed to play at a really, really high level consistently all year.
This next one comes from @Yang_10. How do you rate the defense overall?
Oh boy, it's a very it feels very 2021-ish. Maybe even 2020. I'd have to check the run defense numbers where it's like the plan is making sense. Stop the run, make the other team one-dimensional, unleash your pass rush group, play sticky coverage, get off the field. Like the plan, when you say it out loud, you're like, that makes a bunch of sense. The run gets stopped, and then I just can't fathom how a team can stop the run at such a high level and then just get carved in these obvious passing situations. Because like the early down stuff, I don't have the splits in front of me right now, but the early down stuff, passing wise, obviously that's a problem. Every time you get thrown on, it's an issue. But where the Seahawks they're befuddling me. It's a good vocab word for the pod today. Where they're befuddling me is like, okay, stop for a run. Stop. They run for no gain on first down. They get like 2 yards on second down. It's 3rd and 8. You got your pass rushers on the field. You got you guys who are ready to get sticky in coverage. And then they get like 16 yards. It's like, ooh. And then it just happens again and again and again. And it's just like, and then it happens week after week after week. And it's just like, it's like, damn, they're not even really that one-dimensional. If that's the case, like let's look at these splits real fast. Because I want to see how many times the Panthers even ran the ball in the second half. Let me see if I can pull this number up.
Well, I'll tell you this. Andy threw 50 passes, if I'm not mistaken.
So in the third and fourth quarter, and they ran the ball 5 times. And one of those was the Andy scramble. So really, they ran the ball designed 4 times and Andy threw it 36 times in the second half. And in the second half, he threw for 200 yards. Now that's on 36 attempts, so that's not like a great average, but still that puts in perspective, like even one-dimensional. And let me just put how many yards they ran for. So on those 4 design carries, they gained 3 yards. So they ran 4 times for 3 yards and still had an additional 200 yards of offense. That's pretty nuts. So I know the question was like, how do we rate the defense? Or I don't know if I should put a number value on it or what. I will say it's befuddling. That is the word that's coming to my mind, because in theory, if you are that good at stopping the run, you should, like, their motto in the building is earn the right to stop the run, earn the right to rush the passer, stop the run so you can have fun, right? It rhymes and everything. It's great. And then the fun is not being had. Like today it was decent. Like I said, a lot of quarterback hits, but for as good as they are at stopping the run and forcing teams into long 3rd down situations, you would think that there would be more pressure on the quarterbacks. There'd be more sack numbers. Like, I don't know what the Panthers' average distance to travel on 3rd down was today. I'm pretty sure it was pretty long. And it just didn't result in like Dalton back there getting beat to hell, like I thought it would have.
This next one comes from McNewhouse. Is Julian Love an asset or a liability?
Liability's a little strong, I would say, but the ROI, the return on the investment doesn't seem to have been reached quite yet. It's 3 games, so it's early, but there's some obvious moments. Clearly, or someone wouldn't have asked that question, like the missed tackle on the touchdown to Chark today. There were some plays against the Lions where they were just clearly just throwing that 20 in coverage, including the seam ball for the touchdown. But what's really standing out to me, beyond the missed tackles, because that's like, ain't got nothing to do with no scheme, nothing. He's just missing. The way I chart missed tackles, like at least on my pen and pad during the game, was I write MT and the person's number, like when I do my play-by-play, and I go back and I'm seeing MT quite a bit next to 20. It's not just him; it's other guys too, but it's glaring when a safety misses tackles because it's usually an open space. But what's standing out to me so far is, Chris, they're playing too high, right? And the backside safety, or even the guy on the front side of it, but the backside safety in particular, if they're reading and recognizing fast enough, they can drive on those like end breakers. And like Julian's getting there, but he's getting there like right as the ball gets there, or like right after the ball gets there, and it's still they're completing the passes. Like it happened a lot in the Rams game. I think Julian had a lot of tackles in the Rams game because he was getting there like a half tick late. And that matters. That's the difference between like getting off. Like today, I think there was one on like 3rd and 10, and somebody got right to the sticks. Julian hit him right at the sticks, first down, half tick late. Like it's those plays where I'm just like, if you're just a half tick earlier, the whole conversation looks different. Whereas right now it just looks like, all right, when did Jamal get back? Like, hey, how's Jamal's knee? He good? He good right now? Because that's what it looks like so far. Based on the film that I watched of Julian when he played for the Giants last year, went back and watched a few games, I was like, okay, I see something here. This guy's gonna make some plays. He's gonna be able to come downhill. Probably not like a single high guy. Like they should just have Quandre do that, but like all that box stuff and like coming downhill like Jamal's like, okay, Love can do that. And it just hasn't shown up. A couple good plays here and there, but clearly someone asking that question lets you know, like, yo, what's going on? I'm gonna ask you this, Chris. Are they talking about him on the broadcast at all? Is he getting any mention?
He's getting mentioned for being on the play, as you said. He makes the tackle, but it's a first down. He did have a breakup against Hayden Hurst, but
Yeah,
as we talked about, 9 times out of 10, it's a bad ball. So good job, Julian. You were there. It was a bad ball. You broke it up, but he's made less of those PBUs and big plays more than he has in the regard of, damn, as you mentioned, he's a hair late, and that hair late is a first down, or that hair late is a missed tackle for a touchdown, or that hair late is a missed tackle and a first down for a running play. And I've seen that watching the film. I'm writing, damn, Julian Love has to fill that hole, or he gets mowed over, and the guy continues running and gets tackled by a defensive tackle 9 yards down the field. You just got to make those plays. So you said liability is a strong word. He has to find a way to impact the Seahawks defense and get off the field. But Jamal's coming back on Monday Night Football. It'll be interesting to see what the Seahawks do. Will Jamal just play the whole entire game because he's back? Or will they Jamal's going to play a bunch of snaps here and there, but we got a Twitter question with that, so I'll let you throw your spin on there. But this next question comes from Sam Olson. Are they getting good safety play for the resources that they have put in? So this includes Quandre Diggs, Jordan Love, who we just mentioned, Jamal Adams. He'll be back Monday Night Football, but he's been banged up. What's your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I think Quandre hasn't really been tested much at all, really. I think like the main play I can think of off the top of my head is I think it was Van Jefferson who dropped the ball in that Rams game in week 1. Yeah, like that would have been the real bad. He kind of lucked out there. Outside of that, I'm not really seeing a ton. You're not seeing a bunch of seams and posts that he's like super late on. Like even the seam that the Lions hit for a touchdown, like I think that was on 20. Flea Flicker was on Spoon, so I'm not seeing a ton there. He's not getting tried a lot. And if you're playing safety the right way, where he's playing it, you shouldn't get tried, quite a bit. It'll be the other safety, like it's kind of been, particularly with some of that in break and stuff. But no, I think in general, you're not getting a ton of big ROI on that return on investment. I think it's really more one-sided, though. I don't think it's like I'm not watching the games and being like, yo, what is 6 doing? It's more, although he had a missed tackle in the hole today, but I think more often I'm like, yo, I got a lot of MTs underlined next to 20, it feels like. And I do think that I was kind of interested to see what they would do when Jamal came back. I think everyone was when they signed Julian Love, like, how are they going to do it? They going to like have him trade off or play 3 safeties all the time? Or like now I think to kind of go back and answer that other question in a different way, I think it's to the point where if Jamal can play every down, you should just start him and Quandre next to each other and just kind of go from there. Just start Spoon, Reek, Jamal, Quandre, Bobby, JB, and then whoever you want, at nickel. I don't think it matters a ton. So, and you go with that. I think that should be the plan against the Giants if Jamal's knee/quad holds up. Because I do think with Jamal and Quandre playing together, we should see some pretty good like safety play, the whole defense coming together. Because I also think Jamal's a really high level run defender too. So hopefully he's not just barreling guys with his shoulders anymore, since his shoulders have been operated on twice. He's a really strong guy with his shoulders. Like I really think of that play when he just levels Najee Harris in week 6 of 2021. Like, how hard it is to just knock Najee Harris down with your shoulder. Najee Harris is huge.
230.
Yeah, like Najee's a big dude, and Jamal just came and just dropped him. Like a cop hitting a robber. It was tough. But you just can't keep doing that, and your shoulder will just give out, which it did. So I think so whoever asked that question, ask us that again, like after the Giants game or after when Jamal plays again. Because I think the answer will be much rosier, because right now it's like it's not.
This next one comes from at Seattle Think. Ceiling for the Seahawks defense, top blank defense. Top what number, Mike, when they finish this season?
Let's see where they're at right now, shall we? Let's see. Chris, where do you think, as I look this up, the Seahawks are in EPA per play on defense? What do you think
I would
they
say probably – I'll say their run defense is really immaculate. So how much is that going to bump them up as bad as their pass? I would say they're probably – I'm going to say 16th.
They are 27th.
Jesus.
Now, with the caveat that as we were recording this, not every team has played 3 games, so that throws it off a little bit. Like, for example, the Bucs are 11th. They have not played yet. Or they haven't played their 3rd game yet. Same with the Eagles, who are 14th.
6 spots. They might finish in the top 20.
They're behind every team that's only played 2. The Rams are 26th, so we'll see what happens with them. But if they play what's his name, Jake Browning on Monday night, then that number will probably go up. I'm not just saying that because he's a Husky, like y'all know it. Jake's not that guy. He ain't Joey B. We all know that.
Damn, I'm way off. Jesus.
Yeah, I was surprised actually to see that number. I didn't know it before I looked it up just now. Yeah, 27.
What were you thinking? 20?
I was thinking about average, like you were thinking. You said 16th. That's about average, yeah.
Am I missing something here?
Well,
I must be.
The issue is, as we look at how many now, EPA takes into account a lot more things than scoring defense, but you look at it, they've given up 30 points, 31 points, and although they didn't, it was like mostly a garbage time touchdown. 27 points. I don't have time to do the math on that. But that's
called, Mike, expected points average.
Yeah, well, they ain't nothing expected. These are real points being added to the scoreboard. Let's see. They're 29th in scoring defense. So
not surprised there.
Yeah. Oh, man. The scoring defense. I'm looking at the rankings right now. This is pretty nuts. The Broncos are dead last, 40 points a game.
Right. Give up a 70 burger. That's going to change some things dramatically.
Dog, 70 is insane. I know that's the Broncos. We'll leave them alone. But the Seahawks have the 29th ranked scoring defense right now. So that would also contribute to the EPA per play being low. So to answer the question on what the ceiling is, the ceiling I think is high. The floor, unfortunately, is also very low. Like this could easily also be one of the worst defenses in the league. On top of potentially, if everything falls together, being anywhere from about 9 to 13. Ranked defense, I would say. They really need everybody to play. I think they need like multiple games in a row of Jay Reed, Chenna, Boye and Draymond up front, Bobby, Jordan, whoever you want to play at nickel, next to Spoon, Reek, Jamal, Quandre. Like that particular lineup, play that for like a month. I think those numbers will get better. But right now, yeah, it's not looking good. They're a weird defense. They're a weird defense. Like I said, I think the ceiling is high. It can be anywhere from 9 to 13. And then the floor is just as low as it could be. Like, I don't think they'll be as bad as the Broncos because 70 ball is nuts. That's 70 points all on offense, too. No kick returns, no defensive scoop and scores. It's just 70. Ugh.
And it's crazy because this isn't a college football team. This is a professional football team that gave up a 70 burger. But as you said, we're not going to spend too much time on the Broncos.
Yeah, we're going to leave the Broncos
crazy.
alone. Yeah, that's bad. But yeah, that puts in perspective how bad I guess the floor could be. But yeah, it's not a very good defense outside of doing one thing really, really, really good, which is stopping the run. Yes.
This next one comes from Logan Weber. Devon Witherspoon will be the Seahawks' best defensive player by midseason. Overreaction?
Yeah, I think it's overreaction. However, I will just use this opportunity, Chris, or we shall, to talk about like, hey man, Spoon might be like that for real.
Yeah,
like that for real.
There was 3 instances. I don't have my iPad in front of me that has all my stuff that I wrote down during the game, but Miles Sanders pretty much out of bounds on the edge. People, if they're gonna try to run the football, and obviously you want to attack the corners because hey, these guys don't usually tackle. But their job is to break up passes, intercept the ball. They don't get paid to tackle. Devon Witherspoon is one of those dudes that gets paid to tackle. That's why the Seahawks took him where they took him. They saw the tape. They loved his physicality, and he's not afraid to take on a running back. He will get right in there and he reminds me of Sherman in that regard. Where Sherman, he's not afraid to go up and tackle you. He will come down and hit you. And that's what Devon does, and he did. And he's done since his first game against Detroit. We saw that. They ran it to Jahmyr Gibbs, try to get outside. Who's there? Devon Witherspoon. You saw it again on Sunday against the Panthers. Miles Sanders tried to break outside, get loose, trying to stiff arm him. That's not happening. And I'm sure Devon let him know about it. He was barking in his face. I'm not sure what he said, but I'm sure it was, hey, bro, you're not getting outside. I'm here. So Devon is definitely proven that he can cover the run, and he's out. That pass interference was soft. I didn't like it.
Oh, that was terrible call. Terrible call.
I'm sure everyone felt the same. He's physical. I thought it was great play by the offensive player and defensive player. It is what it is. No call. But he almost had a pick on Sunday. He was very close. I think he jumped a hair early. That's why the ball went through his hand. So
yep.
That's just repetitions and getting comfortable out there. But he looks like a veteran. He fits right in. You would think, based on just watching him play, that he's played with the Seahawks for the past 3 seasons. That's how comfortable and good he looks. I love it. He did almost get cooked down the sideline. Luckily, what's-his-face dropped the pass, fingertips. He was diving.
I think that was Chark, yeah.
Yeah, Chark dropped it. But outside of that, I thought I'm sure PFF is going to have him graded pretty high come on Monday when the rankings come out. But, yeah, he's definitely good. I love it.
The problem is, at least in terms of like a PFF ranking, I think he's gonna get dinged quite a bit for that garbage time touchdown. Because I think that just looked like cover 3. Yeah, I think that's on him. So on top of that and the flea flicker, he's like the numbers ain't gonna look great for him to start. But I do think what showed up today was like, I text one of my homies who's like a big DB guy like me. I was like, yo, Spoon might be like that for real. Like you can see that he's raw, but you can see the traits there. What really has stood out so far, 2 things. One is the energy, like you mentioned. I'm sure if they have like a mic'd up segment on their YouTube channel with Spoon, it's entertaining. Especially the uncut version that they don't show us. I'm sure that stuff is gold.
Mike, who can you talk to get the uncut version? Just for me and you. I just want to see it. Who would you need to rap with?
I know who I can talk to, but I'd rather not say their name.
Oh, you got to say their name, but I'm glad you know that. You need to have a conversation with them so we can get the tapes, because I want to see what they're saying on the sideline.
What we got to do is we got to get a Patreon going for the podcast, and I can just bribe that person. We can bribe that person as a Seahawks man-to-man family with the bread.
Hold up, let's do that.
Yeah, but the other thing with Spoon on top of the energy is he has really quiet feet, and like really patient. Like you can tell when the ball's in the air, there's not a lot of panic. I think.
What do you know?
I think Trey Brown is like that too. It just stands out a little bit more with Spoon because he's like bigger. has that longer wingspan, and it looks tougher to squeeze like passes in around Spoon because he's just a bigger guy. But both of them, you can tell like when the ball's in the air, they're like, oh, I should go catch it instead of like, wait, where is it? Where is it? Oh, damn, he got it. Like Spoon looks very comfortable when the ball's in the air, not a lot of panic, doesn't get too grabby. He just looks really, like I said, really quiet feet. Yeah, it just doesn't. He just does things the right way in that regard. And he's just active, just really active. I don't know how many PBUs he had today, but like, so this a peek into how I chart the game as well. On my pen and pad, I'm writing. When a guy gets a pass defense, I write PD and then I underline it and then his jersey number. So a lot of 21 PD. And then if he actually gets his hand on the ball, PBU, PBU, underline that, and then I circle the guy. I got a lot of 21 circled today, Chris. Like he got at least 10, 11 targets today at minimum. Like, pass defense on the first drive. I think looks like he got beat by Thielen for 15 yards on the second drive, but then I'm looking 21 circled, 21 tackle. I think he led the team in tackles today with a double digits tackles, and not just because he was getting cooked or something like that and just kept having to make tackles for giving up catches. Like that dude can ball a little bit, and he's, like I said, the range stands out, and you can see how, I think Pete Carroll said this after the game too. I can tell me and Pete are kind of in sync in this regard. He's just around the ball a lot. And that's important because, like, he's a rookie, so he's going to get targeted, but teams are going to learn, particularly when they're not trying to throw a reek. Like, oh, damn, I can't throw a 21 and I can't throw a 27. Damn, what am I going to do? It's going to be really hard for teams to get cooking, I think, in theory. It's one of the things that sounds good in theory again. But, yeah, Spoon was really active, and you can see how, like, having that dude play every down is going to mean a lot for this defense. Also, Chris, I'm very happy they are not playing him at nickel to start because that had everyone very, 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 very worried in the preseason. And now you can see, like, okay, no, yeah, he should be on the field every down, not just nickel. So yeah, I think he's gonna be something. He's like real close to making a big play. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he got a pick on Monday night.
Yeah, it's crazy how
just gives him one.
It's crazy how nervous we were when we had KJ on. I don't know if he talked about it on the show, but maybe we talked about it off wax and. KJ was asking, what would you do if you was a GM, Chris? What you gonna do? Because he's not ready. So it all worked out, obviously. He is definitely filling the role, and he's doing well. As you said, you wouldn't be surprised if he gets a pick on Monday Night Football. That'd be a great way to just get even that confidence rolling even more. Get an interception. That'd be great for him. This next one comes from at Leo D11_. How many snaps do you see Jamal playing next Monday?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think that there's no reason, as long as he's physically capable, just like Jordan Brooks was. I guess Jordan didn't play every snap week 1, but you could see like he was fine. He played a ton of snaps and then played like damn near all of them week 2 as well. So as long as Jordan, like what Jordan's doing, like playing every snap, I think you can do that with Jamal too. Again, I don't think I've seen anything that says, man, you guys really got to figure out how to get 30 or how to get 33 and 20 on the field together. At some point, they probably do. But right now, I'd be just like, yo, put 33 next to 6 and let it roll. Like, I think that should be the plan. It's hard to tell right off the top of my head, or at least not top of my head. It's not like I've talked to people about like, oh, how many snaps is Jamal going to play? Like, I don't have any inside info on that, admittedly. But just looking at the film and knowing what things Jamal is good at in this offense, in this defense, the things that they're doing are things he's good at. Pete said that in training camp, and I underlined it when he said it. I was like, what does that mean? Now I'm seeing it. I'm like, oh, this driving on these routes from depth, blitzing, which not a lot of the, like, Condre and Julian aren't doing a ton of that, but like blitzing, shooting run gaps, guarding the flats, like, that's all stuff he's going to be able to do. Guarding the flats, like in the cover 3 looks, like all of that stuff Jamal's going to be able to do. So yeah, I would, if it was up to me, I don't know how much he's going to play, but if it was up to me, I would just start him and play him every snap unless he taps his helmet and says he got to come out.
This one comes from Hawks fan 206. What's going on with Mike Jackson?
I don't think anything is going on in that, like, something is wrong per se. I mean, a lot of you guys didn't want him to play this year anyway. So there's that. I do think today was a really good example of the Mike Jack experience. Like, he can make some plays on the ball. and he'll give up some stuff. It's why they drafted Spoon. Like you kind of just saw it today. Also, you saw today that while I think Mike Jack is a like starting caliber corner, as we saw, like his body work from last year, I feel confident in that. You also saw today why he is the third string corner at that spot. Like Reek's the starter. Reek went down, and then Trey Brown comes in. Trey Brown goes down with a concussion today. Then Mike Jack comes in. Like there's a reason for that. Not many teams just have like a bunch of good corners. Like Mike Jack had. Let me see, a couple PBUs today, Chris. How many?
Two or three.
Yeah, like he got some hands on some passes, and even one of the ones that he I think it was Chark who might have got it on the toe tap.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much better you can play that. I don't think that's one of those like, damn, 30 can't cover. That's one of them like
perfect ball.
Just perfect ball and the
better catch.
Like, yeah, that's one of those like Tyler Lockett has a lot of those on the other team where Mike had the issue is like the Thielen route on third and whatever.
I don't know what you can do other than watch more film and say, you know what, he might try to whip right on me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough. So I don't think something's going on. You're just seeing why the other guys were playing ahead of him. I mean, think about it. Reek's a Pro Bowler, right? Trey Brown he was just the player of the game on defense last week, so you see why he's playing ahead of him. So like once you get down to like your fourth outside corner, you're just kind of hoping that he just don't give up a touchdown, to be honest, just generally speaking, But I will say that for some guys, it is, and I don't know this to be true for Mike, but just generally speaking, it's a lot easier to play at a high level on a snap-by-snap basis when you practice with the unit that you're going to be with during the week. Like, I think, for example, I'm sure everybody listening would agree, Stone and Jake played a lot better when they practiced with the ones all week versus when they were just thrown in there in week one. You know what I'm saying? Like there is something to that. Again, Mike didn't tell me that or anything, but I've heard that from corners. I've heard that from linemen. Like there is something to practicing with those guys, having the plan, with the ones and then going out there versus like, hey, bro just rolled his ankle. Can you come play? Like, everybody not fully suited for that, which is also what made what Trey Brown did against the Lions so damn impressive because that is what happened. It was like, Reek's shoulder hurts. Can you come in and ball? And he was like, yeah, yes, I can. So, yeah, I don't think nothing wrong, Mike. But if I would say, yeah, you guys just seeing why other guys were ahead of him on the depth chart.
This next one comes from Robert Edwards. Does this defense take a big step with Jamal Adams' return?
That's a good question. I don't think just Jamal. But I do think that lineup that I mentioned earlier with everybody like at once, because right now, they're dropping like flies. Like it feels like we were hearing from the PA guy in the press box tell us someone was injured every snap on both teams. It was like Panthers injury update, Seahawks injury update. This guy's hand hurts. This guy's knee hurts. This guy's leg hurts. I'm like, damn, both teams guys are hurt. Now a lot of guys came back in, like Damian Lewis came back in, Miles Sanders came back in, but like. I think Frankie Louvu got hurt for the Panthers. I think Xavier Woods got hurt for the Panthers. CJ Henderson got hurt for the Panthers. Maybe one of their linemen might have got hurt too. Like both teams had guys dropping like flies. Today was ugly for both sides. But yeah, they lost Darrell Taylor today. Lost Draymond Jones today. Lost Trey Brown. Yeah, they were just guys dropping like flies. So I don't think Jamal's going to come in and turn them from, what do we say? They were like the 29th scoring defense to like, I don't think they'll jump to like 12 just because Jamal plays. But I do think you'll see some of those plays that are getting by these guys get erased when he is on the field. Because as much as like Jamal has this really bad reputation, I'm not saying he's bad at it. He has a bad reputation among fans and media in Seattle in terms of how he covers. He gets made fun of a lot for not catching the ball, but at least he is there making a play on the ball. Like he had, even in the play he got hurt, or not the play he got hurt, but in the game he got hurt against the Broncos last year, he had a pick. He hit him in the face. Now, should you catch that? Duh. But the ball ain't hitting no other defenders in the face right now. You know what I'm saying? The Seahawks, they're not in position to make a lot of plays on the ball. Today's a bad example because they were, but you guys get my point. Like he makes plays on the ball. He just has broken fingers and don't catch nothing. But I'm saying he had broken fingers.
No, you ain't lying. It's just funny when you say it because it's like, what do you want him to do? He can't catch. physically.
He got broke hands or broke fingers. He sliced his finger cutting strawberries or something like that his first year. I don't know if you guys remember that, but
I do.
yeah, he was cutting some fruit or something, sliced his hand, and then he broke his hand or broke his fingers, and now he showed us like his hand.
Oh,
He
yeah, that
posted
was
it on
gross.
Instagram, the surgery. Oh, so gross. Like his, ugh. So yeah, but I do think he's not getting enough credit for like being there to make the plays on the ball. Like he had some against the Pittsburgh in 2021. I think he picked off Aaron Rodgers that season. Had one against the Commanders, I think, in that 2021 season as well. It makes a play on the ball that someone picks. Either he picks it or Quandre picks it. Can't remember. But like he makes those plays. Smoked George Kittle on a ball either in 2022 or 2021 in the end zone against down in San Francisco or San Jose, wherever the hell they play. So like he makes plays on the ball. He makes the plays that are not being made by the guys on the field now. Like 100%. We're seeing it. The only thing that's the common denominator apparently is the Seahawks are never going to deploy safeties who can cover Tyler Higbee. That's just for some reason the kryptonite. But I really don't think that's unique to this version of the Seahawks. Because as you guys know, tight ends used to give the Seahawks hell, even when they had Legion of Boom. Remember that game, Chris? I think Antonio Gates had like 17 touchdowns in one game.
Insane. Hey, you want to cover that guy? They just could not. They can't stop being tight ends. That was their kryptonite and the Legion of Boom. You have a tight end, he's gonna go off.
And it wasn't even like always like Antonio Gates Hall of Famer. I got barbecued by like Tyler Eifert one game in like 2015. I'm serious. It was 2015 in Cincinnati. I think it's the game. I think T. Rawls went crazy, but
Matter of fact, wasn't Greg Olsen one of the tight ends that went crazy on him too when he was with the Panthers?
The Cam Newton team in 2015, I think, came here and lit him up.
Bro, he had I think he had 164 yards and a touch.
Yes, so it ain't like it's just this version of the Seahawks thing. Like the tight ends just been giving these guys trouble for a little bit, and I don't think as great as like Cam was, you didn't see him just manned up on tight ends like shutting stuff down. So yeah, I think every defense got some spot, and yeah, that's clearly what the spot is in Seattle defense. Hold on, before you go to the next question, I want to look up that Greg Olsen game. 7 for 131 in the tug.
My bad. I might have gone up 30 yards, but damn. 7 catches. So not only are you giving up stuff, you ain't even tackling.
Yeah, that was
I'm sure his average for reception was over 10 yards.
I'd have to do the math on it. You know, I'm bad at doing math. Live on
fine.
air. But yeah, the point is, it's been the kryptonite for pretty much every iteration of the defense, and that's going to continue for expletive and giggles. Let's look at Eifert in that game I mentioned had 8 for 90 and 2 tugs. So there you go. Tight ends is always going to be the thing around here.
Looks like that's a cover 3 beater. Hey, run a seam route. You'll be open.
Yep. Tight ends. Boom. Unless it's Gronk because they'd be smoking him.
Yes. This next one comes from Abraham Newell. Why does the Seahawks defense opt to play so much zone? It seems like there's so much confusion, especially with all the rotating defensive backs. That could be solved more by just playing man to man. I see what I did there. See what he did there. Plug. Shout out.
Yep. It's a great question. I like this question actually because there's layers to it. One, most teams just play zone a lot. The reason you play zone a lot, particularly on early downs, is so you can defend the run. Because if you think about it, if the other team knows you're in man, like they show it with all these motions, which is important because motion gives away what you're in. Like even if they're going to run it up the middle, all they got to do is send a receiver in motion. Your guy goes with them. It's like, oh, yep, man to man. Here we go. Now, what happens when you're in man and they run the ball? All your DBs turn around. Well, that's a problem because now they can't help in run support. And the Seahawks have taken advantage of that a few times. I can't remember whose touchdown run it was this year. Well, it had to be Ken. He's the only one who's had one. But Ken had a run this year against the Lions, I want to say, where Tyler's guy is face guarding him. And Tyler runs fakes like he's running like an out and up. Yeah. And the DB has no idea that Ken has the ball and is running into the end zone.
I remember seeing that. I was crying. I said, yo, you really think it's a pass play? No one's yelling at you. And he's just, yeah, I got you, Tyler. Where you going? Tyler's like, yeah, you got me, bro. Touchdown.
Yeah, like that's the issue. I feel like DK had one last year. I want to say against the Giants, where not only does he run a route when Ken has the ball, he like puts his hands up too, like the ball's coming. I think it went viral actually. I believe it was the Giants game.
That's so best when you see that.
So you guys have seen those plays. I know you have. That is why. That is like the main answer, at least on early downs, why you do not play man so much. Like there are some teams who get away with it, like the Patriots, I think, play a ton, which is nuts. But it's just so hard to ask your DBs to play in run support while you were also playing man because you were vulnerable to situations like that where instead of run blocking, the receivers just run go routes, and now now all your DBs are turned
40
around.
yards down the field.
Right. And so it's just hard to do that. The other reason that you play zone more than man, even on third downs or obvious passing situations, is so you can disguise your coverages. You guys have, if you guys are watching other games around the league, you guys are seeing what's becoming very popular is that like motion at the snap. Teams are like, it almost looks like Canadian football where guys are running sideways at the snap, and it's just getting guys in trouble. We saw it against the Rams and the Seahawks, and then Sunday Night Football last week, I think it was the Patriots and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are doing it a ton with Tyreek Hill. I mean, the Patriots even did it on a blocked field goal. And then the Seahawks tried the same thing this week with Michael Jackson running at the snap, trying to block a field goal. So when you have all that motion, you can't just play man a bunch. You're giving away what you're about to run because all the other team has to do is put it in motion, put a guy in motion. It's like, oh, yep, boom. We can change the play, or now we have a beater for that. And it's tough to do that. So, and with how mobile a lot of these quarterbacks are, like even the sneaky athletic dudes like Geno, when everyone turns their back to the quarterback, well, now if your rush doesn't get home, they can just take off, right? And it doesn't even take like a fast dude like Lamar Jackson to burn that. I think these guys give up a 20-yard touchdown running like Baker Mayfield in 2019, playing man in the red zone. So there's all these layers to why you don't just like man up all the time. And man, believe it or not, leads to confusion too. Look what happened when Trey Brown gave that 44-yard ball to Tutu Atwell in week 1. That was man. They put a guy in motion. He runs into Julian Love. Boom, wide open. So there's tons of reasons. The run game's probably the main one. Disguising is probably, number 2. I mean, mobile quarterbacks are probably number 3. And number 4, guys that get tired. Like, think about it. When DK runs a go ball, it gets thrown 40 yards down the field, and it's incomplete, right? DK leaves the game. You know what that corner does? He runs right back to the line of scrimmage, and they can just do it again and again and again. Now, obviously, you can't just throw incomplete a bunch of times, but it tires your corners out if they're just following crossing routes and go balls all over the place. So there's tons of reason why teams don't just man up all the time. So there you go. Hopefully that's a long-winded way of answering that question.
This next one comes from Jome253. It feels like the tight end usage has increased compared to game 1 against the Rams. Seattle scored 37 points in back-to-back games. Is the offense best when they use multiple tight end packages?
Yeah, well, the tight end usage was basically non-existent in week 1, so it couldn't have got worse. Let me see what the tight ends had. Disley had 2 for 17, and Colby had 1 for 8, and then Noah wasn't even targeted, so that shows you how bad that was in week 1. I wouldn't say the offense is at its best when the tight ends are involved, but I do think with backup tackles, that's probably the way to go, and that's understandable on Shane's part. Will Disley didn't play today, but you saw the tight ends got involved. Someone tweeted me and was like, yo, what's up with Colby Parkinson? I ain't never seen him get this much action. 1, Colby's a good player. But 2, it's just what happens when Will Disley doesn't play. And then 3, like I said, when you have backup tackles in there, you do need to have some help a little bit. I know they played really well last week, but Brian Burns is a different animal, right? So what did the tight ends do today? Noah had 4 for 41. Colby had 3 for 38. Yeah, that's a good day. I will say this for the tight end usage as it relates to some of the receivers. You're probably not going to get many games when everybody goes off. Like either Jackson Smith and Jigba's probably going to have a good game or the tight ends have a good game. I really don't think there will be a game where there will be both. And if that is the case, the Seahawks are probably going to do what the Dolphins did and score 70. It's just really hard to have enough plays to get everyone involved. I do think, it's the last way I'll answer this, the tight end usage creates really good mismatches because of who they have and how creative Shane Waldron gets, particularly with play action and over the middle stuff. For some reason, when Shane Waldron dials up stuff for the tight ends, he be cooking. I mean, cooking for real. That dude, he ran like a sail concept last week, and somehow Colby got open for like 20 yards down to the goal line against the Lions. Like, Shane, just for whatever reason, I don't know if he had somebody in his family who was a tight end growing up, but he dials it up when it comes to tight ends. Sorry, I lied. This will be the last way to answer it. You can do a lot of different things when you have the tight ends in, meaning like if you put 3 tight ends on the field and the other team puts its base personnel in and then right before the snap, Geno motions him in the empty. Well, now you got linebackers out there on the field spread out, and Geno can just sit there and cook. So I think there's a lot of schematic advantages to having those tight ends on the field, and you're kind of seeing that these last couple weeks. But I do think a big part of it is, just not having
This
Stone
next one,
cross.
oh my bad.
Excuse me, what I say? Not having a cross and Abe. Sorry.
This next one comes from @Nans. Bro, I swear there's 1, 2, there's like 7 Z's. Any thoughts on why JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, isn't getting involved as much?
What does Jackson have through 3 weeks? I didn't
Not
even
a
check.
lot. He doesn't have a touchdown, and Jake Bobo does.
That's because Jake Bobo's the man.
Which is crazy.
Hey, man, Bobo. You see that toe tap by Bobo today, dog?
Tony Toe Tap, as AB will call it. I'm Tony Toe Tap.
Oh,
that was crazy.
That was a beautiful
and he got
play.
shoved. It wasn't as if he just went up and caught it. He was getting pushed and was able to get his 2 feet down. Touchdown.
Yeah, no, man. I thought hey man, more Bobo, baby. More Bobo. Let's see. Jackson has 9 catches for 57 yards. So that's not much at all. Only 2 first downs, and he dropped 1. So part of it is I feel like I tried to temper, can't remember which word matters here, but I tried to just make sure the expectations weren't super high with Jackson in terms of like volume, because it's just hard to be the guy when you are the 3rd wide receiver at best. It's just hard, no matter what offense you're in, right? So, like I was talking to somebody the other day about how if Jackson was like on another offense, in particular, I was saying like if he was on the Texans playing with CJ Stroud, he'd probably be putting up numbers, right? He'd be right back with his college quarterback. He'd be wide receiver 1 on a team whose wide receiver 1 right now is like Nico Collins or Tank Dell or something. So I think he'd be putting up numbers. Same thing if he was even just a number 2, like you see Jordan Addison in Minnesota. It's just so much easier to ball out when you're just higher in the hierarchy, So I think that's part of it. The other thing is, like I mentioned with the tight ends, because I think, Chris, we talked about on the show, like Jackson's going to take targets away from the tight ends.
Man.
And right now it's just happening the other way. The tight ends are taking targets away from Jackson. You're just not going to get both. Like you said, this ain't college. You just don't have enough plays to make that happen. Where I am a little shocked is that Jackson hasn't made much of an impact on 3rd down.
I think another thing I would add is the scenario that the Seahawks find themselves in. When they were using JSN, it was a lot of play action, and they're looking for him on crossers. Maybe it's not there, and that's why you're seeing the tight ends make the plays. Because last week, it was a lot of play against Detroit. It was a hell of a lot of play action, and the tight ends were eating. Between the 3 of them, Noah Fant, Will Dissly, and Parkinson, they had 9 catches, if I'm not mistaken, for 114 yards and a touchdown. They was eating. So with that being said, I think the game plan is just right now where it's at with the offensive line. That's not an excuse to not target JSN, but it's not there. Geno's not seeing it. It's not available to him where he wants it. So he'll take the tight end play there, and that's fine. But I do think as the season progresses, JSN will get more targets. At least that's the hope.
Yeah, I just hope he gets more on 3rd down in particular too. On top of that,
that's where you got him for sure. Yeah,
because he's not. I think let's see his 3rd down targets. He has 8 targets on 3rd down, 3 catches for 26 yards, and he's moved the chains once, and it was last week in the 2nd quarter. He had a 16-yard catch. So on a crossing route, right to your point. So I think that's the number I'm watching more than the volume is Jackson on 3rd down. I think we had a 3rd down question in here too that we'll get to with some images and some videos that'll help kind of illustrate what the issue is, but not just with getting Jackson the ball, but like the whole offense.
What the hell? This is from Luke Thompson. What do the Seahawks need to do to finish drives with touchdowns instead of field goals? And I think your point might end up being about 3rd down. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think so. This is a good question. The Seahawks were just abysmal in the red zone today in terms of scoring touchdowns. Like it was really, really, really bad. Like I think how many times did I think they reached the red zone or just Carolina territory on 5 of their first 7 drives or something like that. It was nuts. It was like, yo, you guys are getting down there. Why don't you score? So today looks like they're about 50%, which isn't the worst thing, but they had to kick 5 field goals to start, just because of how poor maybe not to start, but just because of how poor they were playing. So as Chris alluded to, I don't think the issue is like just the red zone offense is bad. I think the problem is on third down, they're bad everywhere. They're bad outside the red zone, inside the red zone. It might be bad in practice. Who knows? It's not entirely a surprise because if you guys follow my tweets or any of my training camp reports, I usually detail what happens on the red zone period, and the defense won a lot of those days. I think they had like maybe 2 practices in a row where they did not, the first team defense did not give up a touchdown to the first team offense. So that's pretty impressive. Third down is a big problem for these guys that they were 3 of 13 today. One of those might have been a kneel down, but the issue that I'm seeing, this is without like doing a big old film study, this is like kind of piggybacking off what I watched last year and a little bit of what I've seen this year, is there's not a lot of routes that are the first option ahead of the sticks. And I know it's like, you may hear that and think, well, Mike, if it's 3rd and 8, shouldn't we call it 8-yard route? It's like, I hear you, little voice in my head. But no, that's clearly not working. I do think they have the yak guys to take advantage of that. Like, I think one today, as Chris has on the screen for us watching on YouTube, is like, this is not even a total example of that. It's like part of it. Jackson runs a little out route. Even if he does catch the ball, he's 2 yards short. And then you look at the other 2 routes on this combination. This was a 3rd and 9 midway through the second quarter on Carolina's 15-yard line. Like, Jackson runs like a little speed out, and it gets broken up, near the sideline. The other 2 routes are Tyler running a go ball, and he doesn't even turn his head till he clears the sticks. And then DK running something on the backside that's vertical. He doesn't turn his head till he clears the sticks. And while that sounds like good in theory, it's like, well, yeah, Mike, if we need 9 yards, let's run 9 yards to turn around. That don't work. I feel like that was a big problem last year, and why Geno took a lot of sacks on 3rd down is because he always was waiting, as the concepts were designed, for guys to, get there and get to their landmark or whatever, however they want to scheme things up. They had a few of those today. Like even this one that Chris is showing right now, this is 3rd and 7 from the Carolina 25-yard line in the first quarter. Like clearly you can see Geno hits his back leg and he looks for Tyler, who tries to run for 8 yards and then turn around. Well, it's like the other team knows where the sticks are too, you got to try to outfox them or something. And then what happens is Geno ends up scrambling. This is the ball that looks like it either hits Tyler and this hit Tyler in the face.
Yeah.
Chris, is that what it was? I didn't get a replay of this. Yeah. So it hits Tyler in the face, which is pretty uncharacteristic of Tyler, but it illustrates how like the first read on some of this stuff is stuff that's not breaking until at the chains. And I think that this team has the guys who can take advantage of that. This other one that Chris is showing for our people who are watching is it's 3rd and 10 from the Carolina 19. And when Geno hits his back leg, no one, or his like the top of his drop, no one's turned around. It's 3rd and 10. Everybody's clearing the sticks. And I think that they don't have to design stuff this way. And Chris, we see it every week. Teams ain't doing this to the Seahawks. It's 3rd and 11 against the Seahawks. You know what they're doing? Throwing it to a guy on a 7-yard route and letting him fall forward or make someone miss for those extra yards. And I think that there's a few things that are wrong on like 3rd down stuff. It's blocking, it's some route running in particular in the Rams game. There's a bunch of issues. But one that I think is pretty easily correctable, you don't have to change your philosophy or your scheme or get new personnel, is just trying to take advantage of natural yak stuff, more rub routes. When you get man coverage, like routes that cross the field, routes that get obvious mismatches, like getting tight ends on slow linebackers or getting your running backs on linebackers, just stuff that's just like natural, creates action and creates problems for the defense before the sticks. Because I do think they have the guys. You can throw, if it's 3rd and 19, you can throw a 6-yard route to DK. He might run through 7 people. DK's huge. Do that to Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet threw a dude in the first row today. Do that for Ken Walker. Ken Walker will make 7 people miss on 3rd and 13 if you throw him a 6-yard little route and catch him running, Jackson Smith and Jigba, same thing. So I think they have a bunch of issues, but that one has stood out last year, and I thought they would probably fix that, and that has not changed.
This next one comes from Kyle Miller. Are we going to continue to see more Bobo? Bobo learning from Lockett on that toe tap.
I love it. More Bobo, man. Bobo is my guy. There's never been a better like, Mike, it's your boy. And Jake Bobo, I got a bunch of texts there. Say, yo, Mike, there's your boy caught that touchdown.
Yep.
I think the answer is yes, man. As we go, Bobo doesn't have a ton of targets. I have to look up exactly what he has, but it ain't much. But you can see on film they are drawing up plays where Bobo is the read. The big one that stands out is the flea flicker or whatever you want to call that trick play against the Rams in week 1. Like that play was like, oh, hey, we're going to throw this to Bobo. And there was some today that were designed for him too that just didn't go there for whatever reason. So, yeah, I think Bobo isn't just some like, I don't want to use the word token. That sounds too aggressive. But he ain't just like some fan favorite just out there running around getting cardio. No, they want Bobo to get the ball. I don't think he was the first read on his touchdown. It doesn't matter. But they are drawing up stuff to try to get it to him. And Jackson Smith and Jigba for what it's worth. But, yeah, the answer is there's going to be more Bobo down the line. They're top 4 guys. Like, they see themselves as, like, top 4 receivers, not just, like, Jackson, Tyler, and DK. So, yeah, there's going to be more Bobo, man. You make plays like that, shoot, Gino's going to throw it to you all the time. That was beautiful, beautiful throw and catch today.
And what makes it even more sweeter real quick is Jake Bobo don't mind blocking too. I think on that same possession, he helped chip a defensive end, and he just shoves him out of bounds. And that allows Ken Walker, or it might have been Charbonnet, to gain a first down. You just see Bobo bolt to the sideline and just destroy a D end alongside a tight end that's helping block. It was just incredible. Like, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. So that's another reason why, you know what, let's throw him a touchdown. Not saying that other guys aren't doing that, but Jake is definitely earning his stripes on this offense for sure. This next one comes from Sketchy White.
I like that name.
Funny. Imagine a Seahawks squad without Lockett and tell us what it looks like, because I am terrified of what the future holds.
We saw that. What game did Lockett miss? The Chiefs game. Yeah, that was bad. They was throwing 4th and 8 out routes to Laquan Treadwell. That was also another example, by the way, that 4th and 8 play of a route that was short of the sticks on 4th down. It was so weird.
4th down, you gotta.
But that was like, it was like very similar to that speed out from Jackson. It's like, I just don't understand why you have those particular routes being short of the sticks is weird. You need to have those breaking in, not out. That one's weird. But yeah, Lockett, the way he manipulates DBs is just crazy. Like that 2-point conversion, the way he makes it seem like the ball's not coming. So the DB doesn't know. And then all of a sudden, the ball comes. And it's like, I can't even get mad at the DB. It's a scramble drill you're supposed to plaster. Like the DB did what you're taught. And it's just like Tyler's just so savvy. He knows that's what the DB is taught. And just like I said, Spoon has quiet feet. Tyler does too in that situation where he's in quiet hands too, where he's just like, oh, the ball. I'm just going to keep my hands here. Okay, ball. Boom. Late hands. Beautiful. That was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, Tyler, so he may not have the volume every week, but he's good for savvy stuff like that once a week for sure.
This next one comes from Ty Sporting. We have seen a much improved rushing attack to start the season, even with the depleted O-line. What do you attribute this improvement to?
Yeah, I think that generally speaking, it's just easier for offensive linemen to run block than it is to pass block. A lot of that is just physics. It's easier to just go forward than it is to go backwards, in terms of just being strong. Like, it's easy for me to put my weight on a guy and run forward, like pushing a sled, versus backing up and having someone like Brian Burns come at me and trying to stop him from getting by me while not holding him. So the physics of that just makes sense. The other part is that I do think all the guys they have are pretty decent run blockers for the most part. That helps. But before today, the run game hadn't done super well. I do think the main thing is that you can see when Ken realizes, you know what, I got to quit dancing and just hit this and get 3 yards. Like, he had a couple of them today where it was like, okay, Ken's doing the dancing thing again. Here we go. But then he had a couple where it was like, oh, Ken realizes it's not there. I'm not going to score. Get the 3 yards, get 2 yards, live to fight another day. And it's really good that he's figured that out, because then when Zach comes in there, he already knows that. Chris, you see Zach today? Zach was cutting back on them zone runs, lowering his shoulder, care about scoring. He was like, I'm just going to hit somebody on this play. That's the mindset that needs to continue for both running backs. But I do think that was Ken having that attitude and knowing when to do it, because Ken's basically like Russell. He's like the Russell Wilson of running backs, where like, yes, he can triple axle in the backfield and then turn like a, oh my God, what are you doing, into a touchdown Seahawks from Steve Rabel. But he can also have like a, dang, what are you doing? You just lost 4 yards. And Russ would have those sacks where he would take them. And it's like, dog, now it's 2nd and 18. All I had to do was throw the ball away. You know, Ken's the Russell Wilson in that regard. Just like when Russ kind of stopped doing that in 2018, the offense was like great. And he picked his spots. Russ did on when to scramble. When Ken's getting better at that balance, when he fully locks in on that, that's going to really, there'll be more days that look like today. There will be, because Ken's really strong. He got good like lower body. And then on top of the juking he could do, and then you bring Zach in, he's launching dudes into section 138. Oh, yeah, it's showtime.
This next one comes from Cade Ashby. Thoughts on DJ returning punts and kicks on Sunday against the Panthers?
Yeah, DJ's giving us a whirlwind back there at forget the runs themselves. Like, he fair caught one, and he knows he messed up on this. Last week against Detroit with like no one near him. Like, wherever you are listening to this podcast right now, you were closer to DJ Dallas than the Detroit Lions Gunners were on that play. Like, it was bad, and he knows that. But then today, like, he fair catches one very similar, almost forgets he fair caught it, and then just takes off. And then the very next one, he should have fair caught it, and then catches it while he's getting hit. And you could tell he was just like, I fair caught that last one. I don't care what happens. I'm running this one back. And you really can't predetermine it that way. Everyone has to be its own entity. But the returns themselves, Chris, they've been actually good. The kickoffs have been good. Yeah, the punts have been decent, which is kind of bittersweet because I think DJ is doing a good job. But as you guys can see, I'm wearing my Coug hat while we record this. I would love for Eastside Winston, who's like kind of one of their backup punt guys, I would love for him to get a shot. I know he's probably not gonna while everyone's healthy, but yeah, DJ's fine back there. He just can't predetermine when he's going to fair catch and when he's going to return it. Everyone has to be its own entity. If not, you get into a dangerous space like today where he's getting smacked. Wow, he's trying to catch the ball. You just can't. You can't have that. But the returns themselves have been today. They were pretty solid. I think they will continue to be, particularly on punts.
This next one comes from Chris Hamilton. Did we just witness the end of never kick? How about sometimes kick in the right situation? Hashtag.
No. Today, no. Never kick. Never kick. I do think, though, in that same vein, or along those same lines, you can kick sometimes, obviously. Like, I didn't mind all the decisions today. They were 5 for 5. All of those made sense. One thing that might help the Seahawks in some of those situations is they plan, like, go into 3rd and 8 thinking, hey, you guys have 2 downs to get it. That might help the play calling a little bit. You keep Ken Walker on the field. I think he should play more 3rd downs. You can run it. You can maybe feel more comfortable calling something short of the sticks. If you feel like, all right, if we get 6 right here on 3rd and 8, we're going to go for it. Because right now, like we talked about, that ain't working in their favor. So no, never kick is still strong here. Never kick is it's a big part of the reason why they won today too. Didn't the Panthers miss one?
Yeah, he missed a 55-yarder career long.
Hey man, never kick. Never kick.
This next one comes from Aiden Simmons. Looking ahead, where do you see the team in 6 weeks?
Just in a wild card spot. Right? Does that sound right? Probably in a wild card spot, I would guess. I don't think first place in the division. The Niners look like Thanos.
They're going undefeated.
Yeah, the Niners look. Dog, that roster is so crazy. Purdy doesn't even have to be that good, and they can score 30. Like, it's pretty crazy. The only thing that could really torpedo the Niners, I think, is like special teams just going to hell. Because they've had that situation before, too, where they just had, like, no kicker or something like that. One game they had, like, a punter kick a field goal, I think. So other than that, they run the ball. Their defense is crazy. They have all pros on both sides of the ball. They're pretty nuts. So, but, yeah, I can see the Seahawks like, the Seahawks have the 5 seed or the 6 seed or something. They'll be like a good 5 or 6 seed, but I think that's realistic based on how the Niners are playing right now.
All right. This last one comes from PM_playmaker. How excited are we for Jamal's game day fits? Big love from Australia. Appreciate all the love and support.
Yeah, Jamal do be getting right. I will say that low key though. DK does too. DK stuff be an adventure. Like sometimes I've been seeing DK in the locker room get dressed after the game. I'm like, yo, these pants, is he wearing silk pants? Or like just something fly. Like I think one time last year his outfit was made of like something very unique. Like maybe it might have been made out of like recycled material or something. It was like it was very interesting. I almost wanted to be like, can I touch it? But I hate when people do that to me, like, can I touch your hair? So I don't ever do that to nobody else. But I thought about it. I did it because he looked fly. But yeah, I think Chris, I was thinking about this today. I was talking with somebody. Fashion's in a much better place than it was when we were like middle school and stuff. Remember we used to have like the big clothes.
Bro,
like,
I wore a 5X t-shirt and thought I was the man. And I'm 5'4". Come on, this look crazy on me.
Yeah, we early 2000s like fashion stuff. It was really bad. Like I see why David Stern did what he had to do in the NBA. It was
a dress code.
The dress code was racist, but I feel them a little bit because they was coming to the games looking crazy. Yeah, it was coming to the games looking crazy. Big jeans,
they were looking crazy.
Big hats, big shirts. It wasn't like everything fit perfectly. Nelly had us wearing band-aids when we didn't have cuts. We were wearing stuff backwards, jerseys and things. It was just a bad time. So I'm glad these guys kind of have it more together right now. And I do also enjoy like the varying levels on which the Seahawks players care. Like I love when they post a picture of like DK or Gino, and it's very clear that they're wearing some very high-priced clothing that they took a lot of time to pick out. And then like the next picture is like one of the linemen wearing cowboy boots or something, or Noah Fant who just wears like t-shirts and sweats to every trip to the bus. Not even a knock. You can I just enjoy the variance. Everybody gets to be their own guy. I love it.
That's dope, man. Well, look, it's been a long episode, but it's another good one. We appreciate all the love and support. A couple of questions in there that Mike's probably gonna have to just respond to you guys because I know we gotta watch a little film, and that's some of the answers that he was like, you know what? I got to go back on the film, but he might let you know on that. But other than that, we appreciate all the love and support again. We will catch you guys next Tuesday after the Monday Night Football game. We appreciate it. Mike, is there anything you want to add before we get on out of here?
Always, I'm going to echo the appreciation for everyone. We really, really, really do appreciate it. Next game is going to be a long one for me on the East Coast, recording late. So, but I'll do it for you guys. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So until next week, we appreciate you guys. Peace.